Hey there, Heather Leos, and welcome to your reading for the month of August, your dream reading. So, I'm going to go ahead and get started, and I'm going to be reading for you from the Tarot of Dreams, a guidebook. Okay, so this is called the Story Spread, all right? And the story, position one, this card provides an overview of the chapter of the story that you are presently living. Okay, so we have card number one, and we have here the 10 of coins. All right, so there's definitely a portal, doorway. You can a window. You can see clearly here what is being offered to you, and that is, of course, the 10 of coins. There are some uh, mystical figures here, kind of looking a little bit scary. If I'm not, if I, if I'm looking at this from a perspective of the face that these statues here, they're like part of the wall, um, probably like guardians or something like that. But they're definitely there. There's like ivy growing, and their eyes. There's something about their eyes that are like really creepy. um, but anyway, so 10 of coins. All right, maybe like they're trying to scare you from going to your pentacles, like going towards your 10 of coins here. All right, so let's see, 10 of coins. These could be like too like a creepy, like just behavior, like types of face. They also look really masculine too. Okay, let's see here. So the 10 of coins, this is sensing the magic that resides in ordinary, the beauty and potential hidden in the material things around us. The light at the end of the tunnel. Oh, it's a tunnel. Okay. In a dark forest, we see a stone archway covered with ivy and an open gate through which we can glimpse a scene filled with golden light. A stone path wanders through sunlit trees, and 10 coins float down from the sky. Two carved faces adorn the archway. The theme of this card could be condensed into a single phrase: magic in the ordinary. The material things around us, both those provided by nature and those we build ourselves, including our own bodies, are things of beauty and potential. Although we too often take them for granted, the image on the card is really a quite ordinary scene: a stone path viewed through a stone archway. However, looking through an artist's eyes reveal a magical wonderland bathed in grace. When you receive this card, you are indeed fortunate. You are being reminded of the ineffable beauty and goodness inhabiting the world around us. Of course, life is difficult, and of course, we all struggle at times. This card reminds us of what it is we struggle for. The card may also be seen as the proverbial light at the end of the tunnel, a spark of hope and optimism that presages an end to a gloomy situation. The stone faces reflect back to us our own fears and resistances, but the gate lies open. All we need to do is step through. Mercury in Virgo, a mental attitude, Mercury, of appreciation for the humble, the modest, the ordinary Virgo. Yeah, and I definitely we live in this today's society, in today's world. There's a lot of really Um, yeah, so I see two almost negative looking masculine faces. And maybe that's society and culture around, keeping you from feeling empowered, or keeping you from feeling stronger than you think you are. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the tunnel, at the end here, at the end of time, finally, no, there's a light here, okay? And this pierces through the darkness. This pierces through, whatever is trying to keep you from your 10 of coins. It's basically the light is brighter than the darkness here. All right, so you're coming through a dark period, a dark time. Okay, now we have card number 2. This is the rest of the story. What you think. This card describes your conscious mind or your ego, what it thinks about the story, and what it thinks the story is in the final analysis. Okay, and we have here the Knight of Coins. All right, so let's take a look here at the Knight of Coins. Okay, so the personality of the Knight of Coins is ready to rush in and tackle the task at hand. Unlike other decks, which show the knight sitting quietly on his horse, the Tarot of Dreams Knight of Coins is charging into the fray, thus staying true to the impetuosity of the knights. He is capable of patience when engaged in long, tedious projects, as is evidenced by the huge red rock mountain his horse is about to climb. But once he decides on his direction, he is anxious to begin. Knights are completely focused on their tasks. The Knight of Coins takes pleasure in his work for the work's sake, and thus is often found fully engrossed in what might seem to others to be a menial or tedious chore. He could perhaps be an athlete who has the determination and self discipline to succeed at his sport. Stage of development. A stage in a task of project when one must buckle down and get one's hands dirty. Approach. Knights are doing rather than desiring, planning or directing that something of a physical nature be built, changed, or worked with. The Knight of Coins suggests that you actually go out and do it. If you want something done right, you have to do it yourself. Astrology. 2/3 Taurus, 1/3 Aries. Slow, steady, and responsible Taurus. The Knight is nevertheless eager to begin Aries. Yeah, so you're charging full speed ahead toward your 10 of coins. You're doing what you need to do to go and get those 10 of coins, and like nothing is really stopping you. Nothing is really getting in your way. Even when there are like, I feel like these looming, like looming, just like depressing almost like attitudes or negative mindsets that like don't want to get the job done. They come up with excuses after excuses to keep you from getting your 10 of coins. But you have like a ultimate project here, you have an ultimate chore or task to complete that is part of your 10 of coins. It's part of your life, it's part of your happiness. And of course these looming, like very negative looking um, masculine faces here, okay, take it as it resonates. But they are probably, coming up with lots of excuses for why, you know, they don't want you to have your light. They don't want you to have your 10 of coins. But the Knight of Coins is piercing through that and just charging full speed ahead. It's not sitting by and waiting for like help to arrive per se. It's going full speed ahead regardless. All right. So I just feel like, people trying to keep you from your happiness, Leo, like that's not your lifestyle. You know what I'm saying? So what you get. This describes the physical circumstances in which you will find yourself if your story continues on its present path. We have the Eight of Cups. Okay, so I think clearly you're like ascending here away from the, negative side or view of things. But let's find out. Let's see, because there is a traditional interpretation, and then there's this Tarot of Dreams interpretation. So we have the Eight of Cups. Let's see. So the Eight of Cups, abandoning a path. Yeah, abandoning a path here and using your intuition to help determine a new path. Returning to the source. Yeah, your 10 of coins, I think, is your source here. It's your source of happiness. Examining hidden aspects, restlessness, feeling called to abandon something. Anytime we choose a path to follow, it is necessarily means abandoning another path. On the card, a figure walks away from an orderly collection of 8 cups. He walks on a series of columns which climbs into the sky and ends or begins on the moon. The cups that he abandons could stand for a project, endeavor, relationship, or situation which began with a hunch or intuitive leap, represented by the moon. The chessboard pattern on which the cups rest represents the conscious plan or strategy he followed and is now abandoning. The game of chess suggests strategizing, while the squares denote the mind's tendency to separate experiences and observations into black and white categories. The man is nude, indicating that he has left behind the trappings of rational justifications, and like the figure on the star, has returned to a primal connection with his intuition. When this card appears in a reading, it indicates that you have traveled the path as far as it will take you. You are now turning about and once again facing the moon, in other words, returning to the source of your intuition, so that you can be inspired anew, this time to follow a different path. Saturn in Pisces, something you're not sure what, an inferior hard to pin down feeling Pisces, guides you to bring your current activities or preoccupation to an end, Saturn. Yeah, I think you were relying on said individuals that were not, they were blocking you for sure. Like they were blocking you from your 10 of coins. They were blocking you from your path here. And now you have to like go around that or over that. You know what I'm saying? You have to find a way around it. You have to find a way over it. And the Knight of Coins is going to do just that. Um, by any means necessary. So trusting your intuition here and letting it guide you, because I feel like you were relying on two individuals that were giving you excuse after excuse and keeping you and blocking you from your 10 of coins. So now you have to stop relying on these two individuals. Yeah, and intuition is going to play a huge role here, because maybe you were relying on two individuals that were not trusting their intuition, that were not using their abilities to help you get to your 10 of coins, because they themselves are not able to see the clear path forward. They are not able to see the 10 of coins as, they don't see the light, in other words. You know what I'm saying? So you have to let the moon and your intuition guide you forward, I feel like, at this time. All right, so let's see here. All right, so now let's take a look here at position 4. This is what you feel. This card explores the emotional roots and foundations of your present circumstance. This is where you'll find hidden emotional motives. And we have here the Page of Cups. Okay. Yep, Page of Cups. Okay. So the Page of Cups, all right. The personality of the Page of Cups is a young woman who is sensitive to emotional and intuitional undercurrents. Although she's too inexperienced to grasp the full meaning of these messages or to put them to practical use, she can perceive that something is there. Thus, in the picture, she floats underwater but still near the surface. Her hat acts as a sort of antenna that allows her to pick up vibrations that others might miss. Likewise, the cups seen on the other cups cards have here evolved into columns, conveying psychic messages from the water's depths to the surface. These messages can sometimes be disturbing, but the page will, while vulnerable, faces them with bravery. Stage of development. The page augurs beginnings in emotional matters. A new relationship or a new phase of a relationship is often indicated. Yeah, you really have to, not rely on these individuals that are trying to keep you from your 10 of coins. You keep getting that with resistance, and then at some point you're like, okay, I need to step out of the darkness and into the light. Okay, and it's a different approach to life. It's a different journey. It's a different phase. It's a different chapter, but it's still one that is going to bring you, I feel like, more emotional stability, even if it seems uneasy at first. And you're just you're changing your path. So it's not always going to be smooth sailing right away, but eventually things will settle. So you have the approach here as pages are learning. The Page of Cups is suggesting that you remain open to the possibility of learning something from an emotional experience. If an emotional situation seems hopeless, try approaching it with the heart of a child. Be flexible and see if you can learn a new way of relating. Yeah, and I think that's so important and key here too, is because, you know, like children are like they want to learn things, right? They're like sponges. They want to absorb things. So you are doing the same thing here. You're absorbing new information and you're taking that information forward with you on your new path. So you can see things more clearly. If you keep ignoring the messages, if you keep ignoring the information, if you're not willing to learn, if you're not willing to change, if you're not willing to adapt, then you're going to be stuck in this dark tunnel and you're not going to be able to get out. You're not going to be able to see the 10 of coins. So that's really important here. Okay, so we have here position 5, what you deserve. This card shows what you expect on an emotional level. Okay, so we have here the Page of Swords. Alrighty, Page of Swords. So let's see what the Page of Swords message is here. So the personality of the Page of Swords is a quick-witted, somewhat mercurial young woman. She's curious about the world around her, but she lacks the Page of Coins' patient and responsible attitude. And instead her attention playfully hops from one thing to another. She has an insatiable hunger for knowledge and is not above a little discreet snooping in order to gain that knowledge. Her elaborate headdress with the white feathers symbolize the airy qualities of her mind. The hilts and tips of the four sword blades are hidden from view, indicating that her thought processes are not grounded in empirical evidence. The hilts, nor are they yet developed to the point where she is able to glimpse overlying structures and motivations, the tips. Stage of development. The page represents a stage or phase of an idea or of a strategy that it's is in its infancy. The basic outlines are there, but it will require much fleshing out and development before it can be put to use. Yeah, because you had an original plan, I feel like, Leo, but then it got met with like blocking. You weren't able to like fully see the idea through. Okay. Um, so therefore now you have to start a whole new idea, a new journey, a new phase. And that's just like in its infancy, it's just starting out. Approach. Pages are learning. The Page of Swords recommends you focus your attention on gaining knowledge or learning information about the matter at hand. This could include receiving information by messages, newspapers, television, or email. Uh, yeah. So clearly, it's like you have to start, um, like what you deserve, right? And that's like a fresh start. I feel like that's something where it's gonna take time getting used to this like new part of your journey because the original path that you had mapped out was met with like blockages. So while you're still, getting to your 10 of coins here, you have to get to your 10 of coins a different way. The way you originally planned was not working out the way you planned because you were met with blockages. So now you have to go around and find a new solution. And that is just gaining more knowledge. That is just starting new. That is starting over in a sense. Your goal is still the same. You want your 10 of coins, but how are you going to get there is changing. Okay? You deserve a different way forward. And it feels weird, probably. It feels scary. It probably feels like when you have a newborn, it's a terrifying, but also really exciting and rewarding experience. But it's a new experience, something you never experienced before. So that's what's happening here. Now you deserve this chance, but to like have a new, different approach to things. As far as like how you get there is going to be interesting. Now, what you tell. This shows how you present yourself to others and how you express yourself. Okay, and we have here the Eight of Swords. Interesting. Okay, so let's take a look here at this Eight of Swords. Being restricted by one's own assumptions, biases, and prejudices. Oh, okay. A woman floats inside a bubble that rests upon eight sword points. She has constructed such an inflexible mental map of reality that she is now restricted by it. She is a prisoner of her own biases and prejudices. Perhaps she's decided she doesn't like someone, and so now she always sees that person in negative light, thus denying herself the opportunities and potentials that could result from establishing friendly relations with the person. The bubble looks fragile, with its crystalline or cracked eggshell surface, but it holds her as a steady fast as if it were an iron chain. If, however, she were to challenge her own assumptions and try to see things from a different point of view, the bubble would pop and the swords would vanish. Jupiter and Gemini. The mind has been too active, Jupiter, and has woven the complicated web, Gemini, which now imprisons it. Yeah. So, again, it's like Leo, I think you have been like probably surrounded by a lot of like negative mindsets for a while. So it's kind of giving you that sort of negative mindset. It's like who you surround yourself with can like rub off on you. So if you're around people that don't want to see the light, if you're around people that don't want to see the pathway forward, then how are you going to express that in your own life? Because if you feel trapped by somebody else's ideals or principles and those are not the same as yours or not aligned with yours, and that can happen, especially given what's going on in society in the world today, and like politics and stuff like that, that can really rub off on you because now you're thinking, oh well, I don't have a chance at freedom, I don't have a chance at my voice being heard, and now so you put yourself in that negative place. um, and that's what these people want you to feel. They want you to feel trapped, they want you to feel scared, but you can break free from that. And you can do that by expressing yourself authentically and from your own perspective, from your own voice, because you have your own perspective of the world, you have your own voice, you have your own opinions. You don't need to let other people dictate to you how they see the world and then tell you how to live your life. That's not, that's not what we're here for, to not live other people's lives. We're here to live our own life. Okay. So we have position 7, what you are, the parts of yourself that have been determined by the physical circumstances of your upbringing. And we have here the Knight of Swords. Okay. So let's take a look here at this Knight of Swords. Alright, anyways. Nine of Swords. Okay. Here we go. So Knight of Swords. The Knight of Swords is mounted on a white winged steed. He represents the soaring flights the mind is capable of, whether flights of fancy or of invention. To accomplish these flights, he must put aside the restrictions and inhibitions that his conscious mind has placed on him. Yeah, I mean, that's so true. I mean, yeah, we gotta just stop restricting ourselves, I feel like, Leo, so that he can develop the original and unorthodox patterns necessary for his flight. He must also focus entirely on his goal without being distracted, for he is defying gravity. That is the inertia against which we all struggle by sheer force of will. His ability to focus his own is shown by the winged helmet. Yeah, like if somebody, like that's just like another theme of this chapter, of this story here that's unfolding, of your dreams, is like being held back, right? But like going against that, right? So in contrast to Paige's hat, which wore only feathers, of course such single-minded focus means that he won't be the most tolerant or empathetic person you'll ever meet. Oh yeah, there are so many like unempathetic people. He may be quick to jump to conclusions or to take offense. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I hate like Leo. I feel like you're trying to get to your 10 of coins, but then there's that blockage again, right? That we're talking about here. There's that unempathetic person, right? They have no empathy, they have no sympathy, they're quick to jump to conclusions. Okay. So I'm getting like a really like I'm not gonna say. But anyways, okay. Stage of development. Knights represent a stage or phase where focus, attention, and determination are necessary. In the Knight of Swords, this means a focus of the mind, where success depends on your ability to patiently and carefully work out a solution to the problem at hand. Approach. Knights are doing. The Knight of Swords suggests that you take action based on your plans and ideas. He also recommends that you let your mind take wing like the horse on the card so that you can escape earthbound modes of thinking. In other words, try thinking outside the box. And that's what you have, right? A bubble or the box, you know? Um, so you bet, I feel like you were in a bubble, like that you were feeling like secure or like protected. But then that bubble became like more of like a prison of the mind, like you imprisoned yourself because you there was some sense of safety there, but now it seems that the safety has become uh, controlling or something like that. So 2/3 Aquarius, 1/3 Capricorn. The Knight of Swords narrows and limits Capricorn, his focus so that he can obtain unconventional results in intellectual matters. And that's what you're doing is like, Leo, you are definitely tapping into unconventional results here because the conventional way wasn't working. Who knew, right? I feel like you were like, I'm going to trust the conventional way because it seems to be working out, you know? But then you realize, let me take another look at that. So now you're bringing in that intuitiveness, that more emotional side to things, which you really weren't doing before. So that's interesting to switch it up between there's the logical side to things that you were expressing in a very logical way, but it was being met with blocking and it was being made to twist it, to contort it almost to say like your thoughts and your ideas, you know, are crazy or weird, but it's really like, no, I'm just unconventional AF, right, Leo? So that's what you got going for you. All right. Um, it's so funny how you have to find the unconventional and the conventional, and like vice versa. Sometimes when you're dealing with like a lot of blockages. But yeah. All right. So then we have position 8. What you need. Okay. Um, Okay, so we have position 8 here, what you need. This card shows what you feel you need to be happy on a physical level. In other words, what level of physical comfort or security you need, or what level of risk. And we have here the 7 of Swords. Alright, so let's take a look here at the 7 of Swords. So this is sneakiness. See, being clever. Yes, sneaky. That's where we had that like Page of Swords, right? It was like sneaky. Uh, so yeah, so basically the 7 of Swords, um, you've got like this sneakiness happening here, okay? But it's like you're being clever though, audacity and dishonesty. Like it's like either or. It really depends on like your your viewpoint. I mean, you could be the one who has to sneak around somebody who's being dishonest because their dishonesty is like clouding your judgment. A cat burglar is climbing a stone edifice, burdened by the 5 valuable swords he has just stolen. His hold on the stone is precarious. He is taking great risks and employing great cleverness to attain his goal. He better hurry, because the sun is swiftly rising and will soon expose him in his vulnerable position. 2 unclaimed swords hover nearby, mocking him. The figure on the card is simply being too clever for his own good. He wanted the swords so badly that he developed elaborate strategies to steal them. In truth, he took the easy way out by stealing them as opposed to working and saving for them. But taking the easy path has led him to a more difficult path than he bargained for. He may get away with it, or he may drop the swords or himself in his attempt to escape undiscovered. Yeah, I feel like people are taking the easy way out, coming up with excuses. That's why you're not able to get you weren't, well, you are able to get to your 10 points, Leo, but the thing is, like, the way you were going about it isn't going to work because now you have to, like, get around that, right? They're trying to create chaos and blockages and excuses. This card suggests sneakiness, cleverness, and audacity and dishonesty. The degree of the dishonesty depends on the context of the reading. It could range all the way from a white lie to a major deception. Astrology, moon, in Aquarius. We all have a tendency, moon, at times to rebel, Aquarius, against ethical laws by simply creating what we want, despite the fact that deep down we know better. Yeah, I feel like these blockages, like these energies, they know better, but you still have to work around it but they're saying like their law is like they lay the land of the law, or law of the land. The law of the land. Yeah, there it is. So they make up the law of the land. They make up your life. They make up the rules. And there's these like cycles that continue of dishonesty. There's just cycles of cleverness, right? Where they think they can like control you, but you have to work around it. And by working around it, when they see that you're working around it, they point at you and call you the liar or something like that. But that's like really not the case here, okay? You are not, like, you're doing what you need to do to get to your 10 of coins, and they're trying to stop you from that. So let's take a look here at what you need, level of risk. That makes perfect sense. There's a level of risk here. Um, yeah, okay. But we have, okay, the what you expect, and that is, this shows what your conscious mind or ego expects for the future, and that's the priestess energy. Okay. um Darkness into darkness, the key to all mystery. Yeah, the key to all mystery, darkness into darkness. So even if you are facing these dark, troubling times where you're being met with constant blockages, constant excuses, constant, having to live inside someone's bubble that you once thought was safety and security is now you're coming to find is more of a prison, okay, then what you expect, this shows what your conscious mind or ego expects for the future, and that's the priestess energy, okay, trusting your intuition to help you solve these mysteries and find the truth and discover the truth. So, intuitive insight, reconciling of opposites, an indirect approach, withdrawal from everyday activities. Okay? Under a hazy night sky, the priestess sits in her temple, drawing down some mysterious force from the moon. As he watches her, the fool can see the moonlight literally descending upon her, and stars, suns, and moons nestle in her hair. Her moon-shaped headgear provides a powerful sympathetic magic. We all know that there is more to ourselves than our conscious minds can perceive. When we find ourselves making an unexpected emotional outburst, or when an image that we come across seems to speak to us in startling ways, as tarot cards can do, then we know that there are currents beneath the surface of our conscious minds. But the structure of our minds prevents us from apprehending these currents directly. How can we ever hope to see what we are incapable of seeing? The answer is the priestess. She allows communication to travel back and forth between the conscious and unconscious worlds, and she maintains the integrity of both worlds by sharply limiting and filtering that communication. This is why the material we receive from our subconscious speaks riddles, dreams, and metaphors. The two pillars on the card represent duality, as do the different colored shapes atop the pillars. Duality is the way of our conscious minds. Our conscious minds are structured, and how our minds in turn structure our perceptions. From the time we are born, we can learn to categorize everything we perceive, good or bad, pleasurable or painful, light or dark. Later in life, the categories grow more sophisticated, but the dualities remain: responsible or carefree, well or ill intentioned, passive or aggressive. These distinctions make it possible for us to live and make our own way in this world. They are a hindrance if we want to navigate our way through the subconscious, whose nature reflects the primordial murky waters of oneness rather than the sharply delineated opposites of everyday waking life. The priestess' eyes are closed, shutting herself off from the sensory input that threatens to seduce her back into the conscious world. She has her back to the pillars, indicating that she has gone beyond the dualities. The priestess's eyes are closed, shutting herself off from the sensory input that threatens to seduce her back into the conscious world. She has her back to the pillars, indicating that she has gone beyond the dualities. She has stepped through them, as if they were merely a doorway to different kinds of perception. Significantly, she holds her intricate lens so that it frames her heart chakra. The heart chakra reconciles opposites, bringing them together into an organic whole and healing the rift between them. And thus we experience the priestess' energy as a calming one. The night and the moon on this card symbolize the uncertainty and uneasiness that our conscious minds feel when faced with evidence of the existence of the subconscious. In order to enter the waters of the subconscious, the priestess, or the part of our mind which she represents, must embrace the symbols of night and moon. Then, when she is relaxed and allowed subconscious material to permeate her being, she will turn to us and hold up her magic lens, through which we can catch a few hints of intuitive insight. The Hebrew letter Gimel means camel. A camel is used to cross desert regions, in the same way that the priestess helps us cross the gulf between the conscious and subconscious. Astrology, the moon, is the planet of the subconscious mind. All right, so yeah, your conscious mind, um, or your ego, expects for you to keep diving into your subconscious to find the answers and to keep traveling that path forward, because the path that you were on before, where you had to like rely on logic, is now becoming more submersive. Like, it's becoming more like, it's not just logic anymore. It's like there's a whole deeper rooted subconscious energy, I feel like, that you picked up on when trying to get to your 10 of coins. This energy of control, this energy of keeping you silenced, this energy of like something that is keeping you from your happiness. And it's like, wait a second, like, I didn't, like, that's not, that's not what you signed up for, Leo. Okay, you signed up to be able to explore your opportunities, to receive your coins, to receive your rewards, to receive your light from the universe, and your dreams and your goals and your aspirations to all be obtained. But you come up against these reoccurring themes of blockages and people being negative towards you, and you keeping yourself in that negative mindset isn't going to help you get to your intuitiveness. It's keeping you, it's blocking you from your intuitiveness. Okay, so getting through all that is going to be, really just focusing on what you're like, not allowing your ego to rule you or control you, but allowing yourself to be taught through your ego what you need to do. It's almost like your ego is like, it's not good to always listen to your ego and let it control every thought and idea you have. But I think you've been so like blocked with trusting even just a little bit of your ego. Like, every time your ego comes out even just a little bit, it's like met with resistance, and that's not healthy. There needs to be a balance here. Okay, and I don't think you're asking for a lot. Okay, I think you're just, you know what you deserve. Okay, and these other energies are saying, no, you don't deserve it, you don't deserve it. There's that reoccurring theme of you're not deserving of your 10 of coins, but you have to release that, pop your own bubble if you have to, so to speak, and break free from that. Because I think the bubble before was keeping you feeling safe, but it was almost like an illusion, where it really wasn't meant to make you feel safe. It was meant to just keep you in control. So you have to break free from that, release control, and feel free again to explore your different paths, your different opportunities that are going to bring you closer to your 10 of coins. Alrighty, that's my message for you, Leos. Love and light always. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. It's totally free. And hit that thumbs up button. Hit the notification bell so when you know I drop another video, you're notified. Okay, bye.